We're going to recap the properties of exponents real quick. Most of them you know. You use them all the time. You probably just don't even realize that you do. If I have two numbers with the same base, so if I want to do x to the third times x to the fifth, for example,
X to the 7th, 8th.
that becomes x to the eighth. Right, you just add the exponents. As long as I have the same base, I just add the exponents, I get x to the eighth. So same thing, if I had 2 to the ninth times 2 to the seventh, that would be 2 to the 16th. That's it. Okay? Remember?
Yes.
Then there was the power of a power rule. So if I take something like x to the fourth and I raise it to the third power, let's say. Yes, that's where you multiply the exponent. So that would be x to the 12th. Do you remember how, well, let's talk about 0. What do I get if I have a number raised to the 0 power? It's just 1. Do you remember that? So anything to the 0 power is 1. And then the part that messes everybody up is the division and the negative exponents. Those are probably a disaster if you remember them. Do you remember negative exponents? Kind of. So if I have x to the negative third power, for example, that's the same thing as, yes, 1 over x to the third. Basically, when you have a negative exponent, it means to move it to wherever it's not. So if it's in the numerator, it has to go down to the denominator. If you have a negative exponent in the denominator, it moves up to the numerator. So if you had this, say I had 1 over x to the, I don't know, negative fifth. What does that now become? Yeah, it moves upstairs, and when you move it, you take away the negative part of the exponent. So I move it upstairs, and that just becomes x to the positive fifth. Do you remember? Is this ringing a bell?
Yes.
Somewhere in there? Okay, great. And then the only other thing is some division stuff. So if you had, say you had x to the 7th over x to the 9th. What does that leave you with? Yeah, if you were to cancel them all out, you'd just have x to the second left in the denominator, so we would just put a 1 up top. Hey. Okay. And let's just say I had it the other way around. If I had x to the 10th over x to the 3rd, this comes out to be x to the 7th. Just like that. Okay. Oh, yeah, and what happens when I take two things, like, I don't know, 3x to the 3rd, and I raise them to the 2nd power? So what happens when I raise a whole set of parentheses to an exponent? Yeah, everything in there gets squared. So now it's 9x to the 6, right? Power of a power, you multiply them. And the only other thing that I want to make sure that we review real quick is raising a fraction to an exponent. So what if you had like 4/5 and I squared that? What's that become? Yeah, you just squared top and bottom, so that's just 16 over 25. Well, just wait till tomorrow. So, these are just a real quick recap of the basic properties of exponents that you learned in Algebra 1. So what I would like you to do, so let's just try a couple of these together. So if I just look at number 1, right, this is all multiplication. So I always handle the numbers first. So if I multiply just the numbers together, 4 times 3 gets me 12. Then I look at the m's. M times m squared will give me m to the 3rd. And then I have n to the fourth times n, so that's n to the fifth. And then n to the fifth times n to the negative fourth would leave me with n to the, yeah, n to the first, right? And since it's positive, it stays right where it is. However, when we try one like number 3, first of all, the thing that jumps out at me is that I have someone being raised to the 0 power. So what's that really? Just a 1. Now here is the most common mistake. Kids will cross out this whole 2a. That's totally wrong. Only the a is being raised to the 0 power, not the 2. Only the a. So this a turns into a 1, so you can kind of just ignore it. But that 2 is still there. That is such a common mistake. If I wanted to raise 2a to the 0 power, I'd have to put it in parentheses. Right? Otherwise, it's just literally the thing that it's directly attached to is being raised to the exponent, nothing else. All right, so now that's taken care of. Now, there's no other things for me to combine, so I would get 2. Now, you'll notice in the directions it says your answers should only contain positive exponents. So what do I do with a to the negative 2? It goes downstairs and becomes a to the positive 2. That's how you fix it. So then b to the negative third, same thing. It just is downstairs and it's b to the positive third. So real quick, you guys try for me number 8. Okay, we should have an answer. So, first jumping out, I see a b to the 0. That's really just a 1, so I can ignore it. Then I have a 4. There's nothing else to multiply with, so I just have a 4. What's going to happen with this? I put it downstairs and it becomes a to the positive third. And then what's up with this b to the fourth? That just stays in the numerator. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
He's pretty chill.
You got a bad attitude, get downstairs.
13 real quick. Now I'm raising a whole bunch of things to the negative third power. So I'm really going to have 2 to the negative third, v to the negative third, and then u to the what? Negative 9, right? Because you multiply the exponents. They're all negatives, so what does that mean for all of them? They all go downstairs. Now, you should not leave it as 2 to the third, because you know what that is. That's just 8. So, your final answer should look something like that. 1 over 8, v to the third, u to the ninth.
Yeah. Keep them downstairs. Block them up.
Let's just quickly try one on the next page, like, I know you're probably looking at one like, I don't know, 25, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. There's no way I'm going to get this right. Yes, you are. You just got to go piece by piece. So if I look at 25, let's just focus on the numerator. Don't even look at the denominator yet. The numerator. I'd get 4, right? 2 times 2 is 4. Let's just leave it as x to the negative 2 for right now, but then it would be y to the what?
2.
To the positive 2, right? Okay, in my denominator, now ignore the numerator.
Oh, sorry.
Just look at the denominator. That would be x to the
12.
12th, y to the,
Negative 6.
right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what happens to each piece. Is everybody okay so far? I know I'm going kind of fast, but has anyone never learned exponents? Oh, good. All right, good. So everyone has seen exponents. All right, so now, me personally, I'm going to go one by one. What happens with this 4? Stays. Nothing's happening. Nothing changes. There's no other numbers. It's just a 4. What happens with this x to the negative 2?
Gone.
It's got to go downstairs. Now, I already have x to the 12th downstairs, so once I move this, so I'll really have x to the
14.
14th in the denominator. Perfect. And then I do the same thing with the y's. This y squared is going to stay right where it is, right? The only time it moves is if I have a negative exponent.
They have a bad attitude.
So this one has a negative exponent, which means it has to come up, which means I'll really have y to the
8.
up top. Perfect. And I'm done.
See, you got this.
Not so bad.
No, it's not so bad, especially if you remember your rules. So, to have more practice with our rules, why don't we do numbers?
Front page.
Page. Oh my.
Yeah, front page is fine. Just the front page.
I guess if we have to do the front page.
How about,
Front page is
Front
a lot,
page.
though.
okay, evens 2 through 30.
What?
That's less than you were asking for.
Is it
You're
actually?
welcome. Yes.
I did not know that.
Evens 2 through 30. That's it. You could probably finish before you leave if you're super fast. I know, but you're fast. Think of it like, remember doing the drills in elementary school when it was like your times tables and your subtraction table? Did you have a whole sheet and you had to do it like as fast as you could?
Because we were timed on it. They were like, okay, finish this paper in 1 minute.
So 1 minute, go!
It was also like 9 times 4. You said
It was also like.
Yeah, but you were like 6, so now you're 16, so you should be that much faster.
That was in like 4th grade and up.
I got 5.
Gotta be.
I don't
I'm not
remember.
that smart.
Okay, evens 2. Oh, let's stop this video.